What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Shanti Das, the host of the Mibo Show podcast. I am super excited about this season. As you know, this is the anniversary that's coming up of hip-hop 50 years. I cannot believe it. And two of my passions, music and health and wellness. And so that is why we're doing this show, to really bring resources and lived experiences to the community so we can talk about mental and physical health. You see, it's called the Mibo Show, right? M-I for mind and B-O for body. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. As I mentioned, August 11th, 2023 marks the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, which has progressed from the South Bronx to one of the most important musical genres and cultural impacts in the world. And certainly my love of hip-hop dates back when I was a little girl listening to the Sugar Hill Gang, right? So this new show is going to take a look at the intersection of health and hip-hop, music and culture, and we're going to talk to some amazing hip-hop artists and show how they can have a positive impact on health and wellness in our communities and how we can ensure that hip-hop is what? Around for another 50 years. That's what we want, right? So we want to take care of ourselves. We want to also showcase how BIPOC communities can advocate for their health. And last but not least, we're going to celebrate some of the genre's most iconic artists. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about mental health and suicide prevention, and we have two very special guests here. First up, I want to welcome to the show 1/3 of the legendary rap group DMC, Darryl D.M.C. McDaniels, aka legendary MC, the devastating mic controller, the king of rock, DMC.
Hello, DMC's in a place to be.
Yay, it's so good to see you. Thank you again for being here. We really appreciate you. I remember being a little girl, just listening to your music. So it truly is an honor to have you here. And also joining us today, I'm super excited about, we have the brilliant Vanessa Broadhurst, she is the Executive Vice President of Global Affairs at Johnson & Johnson, where she has oversight of the ORTHE, which is our Race to Health Equity program, and she is a vocal advocate for health and wellness. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me, Shanti.
All right, so let's jump right in, Dee. So according to U.S. News and World Report, new research shows disproportionate increases in suicide rates have occurred amongst people of color over recent years, while the rate of such deaths among whites have notably fallen. The new analysis also shows that Black or African American individuals between 10 and 24 years old saw the largest proportional increase in suicide rates between 2018 and 21. And that is quite striking and scary. So, Dee, why is it so important for hip-hop artists to speak up about their mental health and suicide prevention in our communities?
Well, I would think one of the things that people overlook is in all communities, but especially in the African American community and communities of color, harmful self-destructive behavior is celebrated. So you see a rise in those numbers now because a lot of the habits, a lot of the information, a lot of the dialogue doesn't give people alternatives or cures or solutions or remedies to the current situations that they're in. And what I mean by that is the guy that, like me, I was drinking a case of 40s a day. And you're right, DMC drinks the most 40s. And that's because there was a guy in my neighborhood that drank 7 a day. But nobody stopped us after the third one and said, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Or the guy that fights a lot. Oh, he fighting everybody. Nobody's asking, yo, what's going on in your household? Is there somebody on your block doing the same thing to you? The guy that smokes all the weed and smokes a lot of the behaviors is celebrated.
That's
so
right.
When there is a core problem in our communities that has to do with mental health, people don't recognize it. And also speaking, a lot of our celebrations or our traditions don't acknowledge the need to pay attention to when there is a situation. And we always had individuals. We had Chuck D. You had Dougie Fresh, we used to go on tour and Dougie Fresh eating this fish and he ain't doing what we was doing. That set an example. So, Shandi, we need more of us.
That's right.
What you're doing here is great. We need more of us to set the examples that you don't have to be cool to get it. You don't have to drink to get high. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to get high to be cool. You don't have to smoke to be cool. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. In hip hop teaches everybody what to drive, what to smoke, what to drink, what to wear, how to talk, but we have forgotten to tell people how to live healthy. So what you're doing right now is something that hip hop is, but nobody's doing it.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate all that you do for the community to really share from a lived experience perspective. And indeed, you released your book, 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide. And can you share with us just a little bit about what it was like when you were battling depression in the late 90s and what led you to having those suicidal thoughts?
I don't know what it was. I mean, I guess the situations or the characteristics was always there. But Shanti, 1993, Pete Rock, shout out to Pete Rock, one of the greatest producers, if not the greatest in hip hop. Pete Rock at CL does for Run-D.M.C. what Run-D.M.C. did for Aerosmith back in '86. Did one of our records and brought us back. Shanti, right when that happened, we put the record out, the video came out. Remember the video was star-studded?
Yes, it was.
Everybody showed. Eazy-E flew from LA just to participate and show the love. I don't know, for some reason when that happened, the very next day, Shanti, I just woke up and was depressed. And then I just started having these suicidal thoughts because there was this void in me and I didn't know what it was. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I'm Darryl McDaniels from Hollis, Queens, son of Byford, brother of Al. Banner's my mother, runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Darryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree, my mother, my father, my brother, and me. And then I looked at my life and my career and said, there's got to be something more to this existence than just being a devastated mic controller. So I didn't know what it was. And prior to that, like I just said earlier, I was drinking a case of 40s a day.
Oh my gosh.
I was diagnosed with acute pancreatitis. So now I get depressed. The bad thing about it for me was, here's the mighty DMC that everybody think is invincible, and even I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know where to go for help. I didn't know. And the whole thing with, being hip hop and being a strong black male, I was ashamed to tell somebody I was going through that.
Yeah.
They're going to think I'm weak and vulnerable. So long story short, Shanti, I became an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck who didn't know what to do with these feelings. So the only thing that I could think of is, I don't want them no more, so I got to kill myself.
Yeah.
So that was it. And that got so deep. And this is crazy. In the midst of all of that, I find out that I'm adopted.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I found out I was adopted at age 35. And then, hold on, you remember Jam Master Jay gets shot and killed.
Yeah.
You can imagine where it was at. So me not knowing what to do, what I should have did was I should have went to my mother. I should have went to my father. I should have went to my wife when I first started feeling this, instead of letting all of these circumstances explode on her too. That's a whole nother story.
That's right.
I didn't know what to do. And then the only thing I knew was, okay, I'm not supposed to drink. I had acute pancreatitis. And then I self-medicated. I reached for the very thing that I'm not supposed to do, was the alcohol again. So now I'm killing myself without jumping. I'm killing myself without drinking the poison. Because the alcohol, my wife, I love my wife. She was like, Emma, Effa, you're just drinking because you don't understand all of these emotions. And when she said that to me, it hit me in the core. And everybody was trying to tell me, D, go to rehab, stop drinking, stop drinking. But the thing that saved me was, okay, I listened to everybody to go to rehab to stop drinking. But Shanti, Vanessa, the most powerful gangster thing anybody in the world could do is what I found when I went to rehab. I went to rehab and I discovered this thing called therapy.
Yes.
And I was able to talk about the way I was feeling.
Yeah.
And nobody was getting mad at me. I could be sad, I could be angry, I could be confused, I could be scared, and it just felt good to say, yes, this is how I feel. I discovered therapy, and then I was on my way to heal.
I love that, Dee. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being so vulnerable. And I know we don't have a lot of time with Vanessa today, but Vanessa, as a leader in healthcare at the world's largest healthcare company, Johnson & Johnson, how often do you hear similar stories, right, to Dee? And why is it important to share more prevalent stories in BIPOC communities?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me. And I'm trying not to fangirl too much here, Dee.
No problem.
Started rapping. You had me there. I'm like, wait. But, in all seriousness, with the story that you shared, you hit on something very accurate. And that is that studies have shown that, in the BIPOC communities, we suffer with mental health issues more disproportionately to other communities. And there are a few reasons for this, but let me focus on just a couple. First is the stigma around mental health, and that may very well create a decision not to seek care.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, responses to a recent Blue Cross Blue Shield survey of 2,700 adults suggest greater social stigma around mental health issues in the BIPOC communities actually do influence a person's likelihood to seek care. And it's reported that, they reported that individuals with mental health conditions in the BIPOC community, their communities look down upon them. At least that's how they felt. And that perceived stigma combined with structural racism is what we see preventing historically marginalized communities from receiving equitable treatment, because they do have difficulty asking for help at times, as, Dee, you expressed. And the second is around access to care. And this one really has two parts to it. The first is there is a physical lack of access to mental health support in BIPOC communities. And this can be everything from clinicians to educational resources that are credible to the population. And this lack of presence in the BIPOC community is associated with lower diagnoses for major depression.
Mm-hmm.
And the second piece is that one of the greatest barriers for people of color in accessing mental health services is a lack of diverse counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists in the community. I'm so glad that you were able to find a therapist that resonated with you, but it can be challenging, right? So even when you can find somebody, many times that person does not look like the three of us here on this podcast. So, multiple studies have shown that those that identify as people of color are more likely to prefer having treatment from providers that have similar life experiences.
Sure.
And, have that understanding of the perception of the stigma that's sometimes associated in the communities. And currently there's a large shortage of psychiatrists, counselors, therapists, and that has extreme implications for the BIPOC community for treatment.
Absolutely. I think it's like less than 5% are people of color, right, that are clinicians. And I also want to ask you, Vanessa, how is J&J taking action to drive a better healthcare experience for underserved communities? And how important is it for underserved communities to have access to get healthcare and support?
Yeah, it's so important. And to help close that racial health gap, we've committed to health equity as a business priority and created structures to drive sustainable change and measurable outcomes through a program called our Race to Health Equity. We call it ORTHE for short. And we committed $100 million over 5 years to invest in and promote health equity solutions. We also, during the pandemic, created a program called My Health Can't Wait. And this is a community wellness initiative helping people of color in the U.S. essentially access vital health information around various topics, including mental health, because what we were seeing was people were preventing getting care. But everybody else ahead of themselves, and, lots of challenges in the world. Yeah, lots of challenges in the world. But we know your health can't wait. So we created My Health Can't Wait.
Wow.
And this year we're activating in more than 10 cities. And additionally, you can learn more, if you're interested in our My Health Can't Wait website, which is going to launch this summer, which encourages people of color to really seek that care and empower them with the knowledge and resources they need to take care of themselves.
Wow.
I love that. That is so important. You guys are doing such great work.
It really is. And there are a couple other things that we're doing. You know, we're trying to drive mental health, positive mental health impact, including, you know, we have a large program for Crohn's disease. And what we found is that, you know, we needed to work with African-American physicians to connect with people of color to provide educational awareness on immunology and GI conditions. And you may not be aware of this, but people with significant GI conditions like Crohn's and colitis do have mental health issues that are associated with the pain that those conditions can cause.
Wow.
We also have a partnership through the Kappas and the Deltas, and we're providing community-based programming and education, screenings related to mental health, diabetes, et cetera, cardiovascular care. And importantly, we know at Johnson & Johnson that mental health, you know, does not discriminate, unfortunately, by age, by gender, by sexual orientation. And that's why we also have another program called Depression Looks Like Me, where we provide additional educational resources that include stories and treatment options that are targeted and really for and by all communities to help those communities understand that depression really impacts us all.
Yeah, it really does.
Does not discriminate. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are doing so much. And so, Dee, what was it hard for you back when you were experiencing what you were going through to access care? I mean, as Vanessa said, there's a lot going on now, but back then, what was your journey like to even find the good therapist, or how did you find one?
I would say I needed that. Everything Vanessa said, I wish I had that right when I started feeling the way that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And it's so cool, Vanessa, that the gut health has a lot to do with how you feel.
It does. I mean,
So if something's feeling off.
Yeah, and when you are ill and you don't feel well, and you don't feel well chronically, that also can be challenging from a mental health standpoint, right?
100%. But how I felt, I just felt helpless.
Mm.
Well, because why did I turn back? The doctor said, when I got discharged from the hospital, the doctor says to me, son, you have two choices in life. You could not drink and live, or you could drink and die. So I was good from 1990 to 93. But as soon as I started feeling, why am I feeling like this? This is uncomfortable. What's going on with me? Like I said, I was DMC, and there was nowhere in my community, nowhere in my neighborhood, nowhere in my upbringing, nowhere in my family tree where there was a situation or a position for me to say, oh, let me do what my uncle did in 69. Let me do what I had suicide when I was a little kid. My uncle took 2 38s and blew his brains out. One of my other friends OD'd and stuff like that. And in my household, they would talk about it, but they wouldn't talk about, if that ever happens to you, this is what you could do. So there was no information for me. And it's so key with our community. There needs to be that. We got information of where to get the liquor from, where to get the weed from, where to get the sneakers from, where to do this. And what even blows my mind is this. The whole stigma thing, it's based on guilt and shame. Yeah. But if we remove guilt and shame from whatever situation it is, you can remove the pain of that situation. Remove guilt and shame. Remove the pain of having the situation isn't you. You can fix yourself. Fix yourself and you fix your situation.
I feel a new you dropping bars. I feel a song coming on. Wait a minute.
I was just going to say, those are good bars right there.
This is why it's so important that you share your story, though. You know, as an icon, literally, in the Black community, I think seeing African-American men like yourself who are very talented, very skilled, very successful, share their stories about how you can have such a great life from the outside, but still suffer, right? Still suffer, and why it's okay to ask for that help and get that help for yourself. So
what y'all are doing is the very thing that happened to me. Now, I get out of rehab and discover therapy. So, I mean, rehab was good because it stopped me from drinking, but it didn't mess with this.
Yeah.
It didn't fix this. So the therapy got me right, got me focused, gave me information, gave me tools, gave me more knowledge of places to go if this ever happens again. But what's powerful about me speaking is this. I found out it's cool when I'm rapping about being the king of rock and it's Christmas time in Alice, Queens, and going to St. John's University. But I found out, Vanessa, I'm a billion times more powerful when I do share my weakness, my vulnerability, when I'm afraid of. I get out of rehab and people are seeing me now. But while I was going through all of this, remember, my partner Run had 10 seasons of Run's House.
Wow.
So all the fans and all the people from the Run-D.M.C standpoint was like, why's DMC? Where's DMC at? So I get out of rehab and I'm going to the 7-Eleven. I'm going to the supermarket. The first thing people say is, DMC, why you ain't on Run's House? And they angry, like, you're supposed to be on Run's House. Why you ain't there? And I would go, oh, well, I was in rehab and I was, I just got out of therapy. And you could see it change. They would stop. And they would, all the celebrity special stuff would leave. They would go, what? And I would go, yeah, well, I was an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical wreck who was thinking of his killing himself. But I went to rehab and I discovered this thing called therapy. Vanessa, Shanti, 100% of the time, two things would happen. They would look around like the CIA was out to get them, and they would make sure the coast was clear before they would look me in the eye and say, DMC, and they would say these words to me. I've never told anybody this. Now, they're just telling me this because I'm DMC, but just because I revealed something. They say, I've never told anybody this. They would say, me too. Or they would say, I've never told anybody this. If it wasn't them, they would go, my mother, my father, my sister, my wife, my spouse. They would have this whole list of people. And then, Shanti, when I wrote the book, because of that, I was like, wow, I just spoke to somebody and just told them my situation. Let me do the book so they can see what I went through.
That's right.
If not, I'm not a doctor or nothing, but by seeing me, maybe they could see themselves. I've had people, because of stigma and shame, and Vanessa, like you said, they don't want to go to talk to somebody that don't look like them. But they'll, DMC, I wear the sneakers like him, I wear the gazelles like him, so now they can recognize somebody.
Because they can relate to you. You literally are changing the narrative, Black man. You are helping young men and women to understand it's okay to get help.
And they would go get help. That's what, it started blowing my mind. I was like, wow, but then I realized, Vanessa, my information is just information.
Yeah.
But there's a multitude of information I was able to get them to. I didn't have that one person saying, Darryl, in 1978, my mother, this and that, and here's this place, or here's what you can do. I didn't have that. It was fortunate for me to go to rehab to stop drinking. I thought drinking was my only problem.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed, Shanti and Vanessa, after my whole rehab therapy stint. I was diagnosed with suppressed emotions. I was drinking a case of 40 ounces of Old English a day to not deal with my feelings. So in 1993, after Down with the King, they exploded and I was lost. But once I went to therapy, I was able to identify and be okay with those feelings. Like now when I speak to kids, fear and anxiety is a big thing. And if the kids ain't okay with talking about how they feeling, it's going to happen like DMC. I didn't speak about it when I was 8, so it hit me when I was 35. But we have to get people, it's okay because of this. If in 2nd grade, my teacher noticed I was squinting. So when my mother came to pick me up, she wasn't ashamed to say, I think Darryl needs glasses. Vanessa, if you get a toothache tomorrow and I see you tomorrow, you're going to go, you ain't going to be scared to say, Darryl, I'll see you later on. I'm going to the dentist. We got to get it to where when people feel something's wrong with them, I'm going to seek help for a mental issue. We got to make it cool. So I guess, Shanti, writing the book, I made it cool to have something going on. Because everybody has something going on.
You did. Thank you. We do. And I could talk about this all day. I know the podcast is only 30 minutes, but I got to ask you both before we go. Vanessa, what is the call to action, right, for hip hop, for BIPOC communities around suicide prevention and mental health awareness? What is the call to action?
So, listen, I think that essentially it's what we've talked about today. It's normalization of the issue. It is encouraging people to seek care when they need it, but also to give the information and make the information available so they know how to seek care. We talk about this, a lot at J&J. I'm in, work for a healthcare company, and it's hard for me to seek care sometimes or to get care for my family. And I've had the benefit of being highly educated, working in the healthcare space. So anything that we can do from a normalization of the conversation, access to care, more Black and brown physicians, psychiatrists, therapists, support people in their educational initiatives, and then provide access to the information, I think is what we need.
Thank you, Vanessa. DMC.
Telling their stories.
Exactly.
Yes, I mean, that's basically it. Information and dialogue, information and conversation, to make it normal to where, oh man, my back is hurting. Go to the chiropractor. Yo, man, I'm feeling depressed. Yo, go sit. We got to get it to where that's not perceived as weakness or, as soon as we say something, I'm depressed, I don't want to live no more. Get away from me, weirdo. We make it seem like it's so abnormal to have something wrong with us. One of the things that I started doing was now, because I went through the situation, hip hop is about keeping it real. So I rhymed about my Adidas and got a sneaker deal. I rhymed about walking this way and being the king of rock, got to hook up with Aerosmith. I have a song out now produced by Bumpy Knuckles, Freddie Fox.
Word?
Yeah. It's called Me and My Microphone. Check it out, y'all. It's me, Chuck D, Ice-T, me, Chuck D, Ice-T, and DJ Jazzy Jeff, all together doing our thing. But my lyric starts out now. I was sitting in my room talking to my shrink, searching my soul for the missing link to suppress my emotions. I used to drink, but now I don't care what these people think. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting that experience into where, I rock a rhyme and I got a watch on my wrist, but I just came home from my therapist. By me speaking about it in normal conditions will make a person know, yo, DMC just a therapist. That must mean, oh, he's like me. So if he could do it, so it's like you said, Vanessa, information and conversation about these things. People will live with, the suicide rate will go down.
Yes.
Especially the young people won't be so ashamed.
That's right.
They won't go self-medicate. They'll go talk to somebody before they think about the suicide. And we can't treat them like they're weirdos. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. You can't ostracize them, right? And can't have outcasts in your family.
Yes.
Okay, you were dropping so many bars. We got to get you to do a song for us. That's so crazy. But more importantly, just your life, your journey, everything you're doing, right, to model behavior for our community, for our BIPOC communities. Like, D, I'm honored to call you friend, and I'm still fangirling out because it is still Hip Hop 50, and I'm thinking about 30 days.
It's like 50th, Shanti, but Vanessa's hip hop, you're hip hop. I tell kids all the time, hip hop didn't just create rappers.
That's right.
It created doctors and lawyers and CEOs 100%. And journalists, and directors and designers. To answer your question, the call to action is we got to utilize all our gifts, talents, and art to heal our people.
Yes, 100%.
That's what we gotta do. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Not just the celebrities.
That's right.
People, it's the doctors, on the front line. It's people like us who are related to or who have been through stuff to get the others to speak out.
No doubt. But I got to end with this question because, again, it's the anniversary. Vanessa, when did you first fall in love with hip hop?
I'm like you, Shanta. Yeah, I started listening to Sugar Hill Gang, but then it was Run-D.M.C, it was LL, it was MC Light, it was Salt and Pepper. I used to love them. Queen Latifah, I still love her.
Yes.
She's amazing. Anyway, I was very young.
Yeah, we were kids. I remember I was in
When did you fall in love with hip hop, D? Come
I
on.
was in the 7th grade at St. Pascal Baylon Catholic High School. and Billy Morris had a tape. Boomboxes didn't exist. He had a tape recorder, and it was DJ Eddie Chiba saying this. Here's a uplifting mental health rap. I was in the 7th grade at Catholic school, and I heard Eddie Chiba on the tape. It was about a minute long, and it was staticky because Eddie Chiba had a pirate radio station because he wasn't playing us. And he said this. He said, when you mess around in New York town, you go down with the disco Chiba clown. You got to keep your pep in your step and don't stop till you get on the mountain top. And when you reach the top, you reach the peak. That's where you'll hear Eddie Chiba speak. And I was like, yeah. I was like, yes, I can take on the world.
Oh, I love that. And for me, it was a young girl listening to Sugar Hill Gang. I thought, wait, this is talking about my community. It's talking about me. So y'all see me rocking that. Got the Run-D.M.C hat on. You know, I had the big door knocker earrings. I thought I was a B-girl, and I haven't looked back ever since. But this has been so great, y'all. Thank you so much for joining the Mibo Show podcast. DMC, you are a legend, my brother. I love you. I love Eric. I love your whole family.
Together, Shanti.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. We are hip hop. And Vanessa, oh my God, just you, Johnson & Johnson, Antoinette, everybody that supports the Mibo Show, the culture, the movement. We can't do this without you. We got to come together. As Dee said, you are hip hop. We are hip hop. Johnson & Johnson, we are hip hop. Let's save our communities. Let's heal our BIPOC communities.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa.
Happy anniversary to hip hop. Let's keep saving lives, y'all. 50 more of good health and wellness. Let's go. Let's live that Mibo style, baby. We out. Peace.